You won't get a single cent of my money. Nothing." Those words came straight from my daughter's mouth, just 12 hours after we buried my wife, Patricia. I'm George Pierce, 65 years old, and I never thought I'd hear such nastiness from the little girl I raised. We'd just gotten back from Patricia's funeral. The house was still full of flowers and sympathy cards, but Jennifer was already acting like a completely different person. Her eyes had this greedy shine I'd never seen before. She was waving Patricia's will around like some kind of trophy. "The $300 million is mine now, Dad," she said in a voice that made my skin crawl. "All mine, and you? You're nothing here anymore." Let me give you some background. I built Pierce Construction from scratch, started with a $5,000 loan back in 1984, and turned it into a $300 million business over 40 years. Patricia and I worked together to build this company. We put up shopping centers, office buildings, gave jobs to hundreds of good people. Jennifer never wanted anything to do with it. She studied art history, worked at some fancy gallery downtown, always acted like the work I did with my hands was beneath her. But Patricia, she was the smart one when it came to legal stuff. Real sharp with numbers and contracts. When she got sick last year, she spent lots of time with our family lawyer, Timothy Coleman, updating wills and paperwork. I figured it was just normal end-of-life planning. "Jennifer, please," I said, still wearing my funeral suit. "We just buried your mother. How can you talk like this?" "Talk like what? Real talk?" She actually laughed. "Dad, for 40 years you lived off the business Mom's family money helped start, but that's over. This house is mine. The company is mine. And you're just dead weight now." That wasn't even true. Patricia's family gave us the initial boost, sure, but I built everything with my own sweat. Worked 12-hour days for decades. But Jennifer never got that. Never understood what real work meant. Our lawyer, Timothy Coleman, was standing in the corner looking uncomfortable as hell. He'd read the will that morning, confirming Patricia had left everything to Jennifer. But something in his expression told me there was more going on. "You got 24 hours to pack up and get out," Jennifer announced, walking around like she owned the place, which legally I guess she did now. "And don't come bothering me again. I'm not taking care of you. For 40 years you rode on Mom's coattails, but now you're going to learn what actual work feels like." My hand started shaking, but not from being scared, from pure anger. This was the same kid I taught to ride a bike in our driveway. The same one I walked down the aisle 3 years ago before her divorce. The same one I bailed out twice when her fancy art gallery went under. "Did you actually read the whole will?" Timothy suddenly spoke up, and something about how he said it made Jennifer stop cold. "What's that supposed to mean?" She snapped back. But I saw uncertainty flash across her face for the first time since the reading. Timothy looked right at me, and I knew exactly what he was getting at. A tiny smile touched my lips as I watched Jennifer's confidence start to crack. "Nothing important," the lawyer said, but his face said otherwise. "Guess you'll find out soon enough." Jennifer got right up in my face then. "I don't care what that stupid paper says. The money's mine. This house is mine, and you're leaving right now." She actually put her hands on me and pushed me toward the door. I almost lost my balance. I'm not the young guy I used to be. "And another thing. I don't want to see you at any family stuff either. Starting today, you're dead to me." She slammed the door so hard it shook the whole house. There I was, standing in my own driveway in the light rain that had started falling, looking at the house Patricia and I bought 35 years ago, the same driveway where I taught Jennifer to drive. The same front porch where we took Christmas pictures every year. I walked to my pickup truck real slow. Every step felt like I was carrying bags of concrete mix. My funeral suit was getting soaked, but I didn't give a damn. The rain was nothing compared to what I felt inside. "Mr. Pierce, wait up!" Timothy came running after me with a folder tucked under his arm. "Need to talk to you. It's real important." I looked at him and saw something that gave me a little hope. The same look Patricia used to get when she had an ace up her sleeve. "This about what I think it is?" I asked quietly. He nodded. "Your wife was way smarter than Jennifer realizes, and you need to know everything before it's too late." I climbed into Timothy's car. As we drove away, I caught Jennifer watching from the living room window. Her face wasn't triumphant anymore. She looked worried because she had no idea what she was about to find out. Timothy drove me to his law office downtown. During the ride, my mind kept bouncing between disbelief and this dull anger growing in my chest. 40 years of marriage to Patricia, building not just a business together, but a family. And now my own daughter had thrown me out like yesterday's garbage. "Sit down, George," Timothy said once we got to his office. His eyes showed pity mixed with something else, something that looked like hope. I dropped into the leather chair across from his desk, same place where Patricia and I had signed our wills years back. The walls were covered with law degrees and family photos, reminding me of everything I'd just lost. "George, there's something Jennifer doesn't know," he started, opening that folder. "Your wife was a really smart woman, and she knew your daughter's character better than you think." I pulled out my handkerchief and wiped my eyes. "Timothy, please. I just lost my wife. Now I lost my daughter. Don't give me false hope." "This isn't false hope, George. It's legal fact." He spread several documents across his desk. "Remember when Patricia insisted we meet alone 6 months ago without Jennifer?" I nodded slow. Patricia had been real specific about that meeting. Said she had private matters to discuss, things that only concerned us as husband and wife. "That day, your wife prepared an addendum to her will, a real specific clause that would only kick in under certain circumstances." Timothy pointed to a paragraph in one of the documents. "If Jennifer showed extreme cruelty toward you, especially during the mourning period, the entire inheritance would automatically come back to you." I stopped breathing for a second. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your wife knew exactly what kind of person your daughter had become, and she made sure to protect you." Timothy smiled for the first time all day. "The $300 million, the house, the company, the investments, it all becomes yours again if we can prove Jennifer met the conditions." My tears tasted different now. Not sadness anymore, but something I couldn't quite name. Maybe relief. Maybe justice. "And how do we prove that?" I asked. Timothy took out his phone and showed me the screen. There was a recording app clearly running. "I recorded the whole conversation this afternoon. Every cruel word, every insult, every moment she threw you out of the house where you'd just held a wake for your wife." I put my hands over my face. But now I was crying with gratitude for Patricia, my dear Patricia, who was still taking care of me even from beyond the grave. "There's more," Timothy continued. "Your wife left real specific instructions. You have to let Jennifer believe she's in control for a while. Let her make mistakes. Let her show her true character to the world. Only then can we make this permanent." "You mean I have to keep pretending I'm broke?" "Exactly. Your wife knew your daughter better than anyone. She knew that money would corrupt her fast, and you'd need time to decide if you truly wanted to take everything back or give Jennifer one last chance." I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city was going about its normal business, completely unaware of the drama in our lives. I thought about Patricia, how she'd always been 3 steps ahead of everyone in business. Turns out she'd been 3 steps ahead in protecting our family, too. "What do I do now?" I asked. "Go to a basic hotel. Act like you've really lost everything. I'll keep an eye on Jennifer's actions. According to your wife's instructions, she'll show her true colors real soon." Timothy drove me to a modest hotel downtown, a place I never would have considered staying in my previous life. It would be my temporary home now. "One more thing, George," he said before leaving. "Your wife left a letter for you, with instructions to give it to you only after Jennifer had shown her true character. I think that time has come." He handed me a sealed envelope. I was alone in that small hotel room with the envelope, shaking in my hands. On the front, written in Patricia's familiar handwriting, was, "For my dearest George, the strongest man I know." I sat on the hotel bed and read Patricia's letter under the dim lamplight. She had predicted everything: Jennifer's greed, her cruelty, even her firing of our longtime employees. The letter explained there were additional secret accounts worth another $150 million that only Patricia and I knew about. The real total was $450 million. But more important, Patricia had been secretly donating to charities for years. She wanted us to use our wealth to help others, not just live comfortable. Over the next few weeks, I watched from the shadows as Jennifer showed exactly who she really was. First thing she did was fire Kevin Martinez, our foreman who'd worked for us 25 years. Guy had 3 kids and a mortgage. She gave him 1 week severance and told him the company was going in a new direction. Then she canceled all our charity commitments. We'd been supporting a local apprenticeship program for young guys wanting to learn construction trades. Jennifer cut that off completely, said it was throwing money away on people who should help themselves. But the worst part was when she started hiring these fancy consultants to modernize the business. They convinced her to lay off half our experienced crew and hire cheaper workers. These were guys who'd been with me for decades, who knew every aspect of the business. I got calls from some of them, asking what happened. Kevin called me one night, real upset. "Mr. Pierce, I don't understand what's going on," he said. "Your daughter told me people like me are holding the company back. After 25 years of loyal service, she just threw me out like garbage." It was killing me to hear this stuff, but I knew I had to let it play out. Patricia had been right about everything so far. The breaking point came exactly 3 weeks after she threw me out. Jennifer had met some smooth-talking investors at some fancy charity gala. They convinced her to invest $50 million in a European art import business. Promised to double her money in 6 months. It was a complete scam. They disappeared with her money overnight. That's when my phone rang. That phone call came at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Jennifer's voice sounded completely different. Small. Scared. "Dad," she whispered, and for a moment she sounded like the little girl I used to comfort when she had nightmares. "Hello, Jennifer. I need to talk to you. Could we meet? Where do you want to meet? Could you come to the house, please?" 30 minutes later, I was standing at the front door of my own home. Jennifer opened it right away, like she'd been watching from the window. She looked terrible. Her hair was a mess, her makeup was smudged, and she was wearing the same clothes from yesterday. "Come in, please," she said, not looking at me. The house was completely different. She'd replaced all the furniture Patricia and I had, picked out together with cold, modern stuff. Our family photos were gone, replaced by expensive art that had no soul. Even the smell was different, like even the memories had been scrubbed away. "What happened, Jennifer?" I asked, though I already knew. She collapsed on the new couch and started crying. "I was scammed, Dad. I lost $50 million. Those men I trusted, they disappeared with everything." I sat beside her, fighting the urge to comfort her right away. This was exactly what Patricia had predicted, and I knew I had to let it sink in completely. "And what are you going to do now?" "I don't know. The lawyers I talked to say it's nearly impossible to get the money back. Timothy refused to help me when I asked him to take the case." Of course, Timothy had refused. He knew perfectly well this situation was part of Patricia's plan to teach Jennifer about consequences. "Jennifer, why did you call me?" She looked up at me, and for the first time in months I saw something like humility in her eyes. Because I realized I don't have anyone else. All those friends I thought I had disappeared as soon as they heard about the lost money. And I treated everyone who truly loved me like garbage, especially you, Dad. The tears came harder. What I did was unforgivable. I threw you out right after Mom's funeral when you needed me most. I was cruel and horrible. It was the first time I'd heard her take responsibility for anything in years. "And what do you expect me to do now?" I asked her straight. "I don't know," she admitted. "I know I don't deserve your help after what I did, but could you stay? Could you help me figure out how to fix this mess?" I agreed to stay that night, but not in my old master bedroom. Jennifer had completely redone that space, removing every trace of Patricia. Instead, I slept in the guest room, which felt about right considering how my status in this house had changed. Over the next few days, I watched as Jennifer struggled with the reality of her decisions. She still had most of the money. $250 million was still a huge fortune. But the loss had scared her badly. For the first time in her life, she understood that money wasn't endless, and that bad decisions had real costs. "Dad, do you think Mom would be disappointed in me?" she asked one night as we ate dinner in silence. That question broke my heart because I knew Patricia had seen this exact moment coming. "Your mother loved you deeply, Jennifer, but she also valued honesty, compassion, and responsibility. What do you think?" She looked down at her plate. "I think she'd be really disappointed. Not just because of the lost money, but because of how I treated people. You, Kevin, everyone who loved our family for years." "And what do you plan to do about it?" "I don't know if there's anything I can do. Some things can't be undone, can they?" That question showed me she was finally starting to understand how serious her actions had been. But the most important test was still coming. 3 days later, another crisis hit. Timothy called me early in the morning with news I knew would eventually arrive. "George, the bank is requesting audits of all the estate accounts. Apparently, someone reported suspicious movements after the scam incident." "What does that mean?" "It means they're going to freeze all the assets temporarily while they investigate. Jennifer will be effectively cut off from her money for at least 2 months." I hung up and went to tell Jennifer. Her reaction told me everything I needed to know about whether she'd really learned anything. She was quiet for several long minutes, processing the information. Then, to my surprise, her first words weren't panic or despair. "I guess this is what I deserve," she said in a calm voice. "After everything I did, after how I treated everyone, maybe it's time I learned to live like a normal person." That response gave me real hope. But I knew the real test would come in the following weeks when she had to face the consequences without any safety net. The next 2 months were the most eye-opening of Jennifer's life. With her bank accounts frozen and only the cash she had on hand, she was forced to deal with a reality she'd never experienced: financial limits. At first, she tried to keep up her fancy lifestyle with credit cards and by selling jewelry. But when the bills started piling up and payments came due, reality hit her hard. "Dad, I don't understand how this works," she told me one morning, sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of bills. "These numbers don't add up. The monthly expenses for this house are more than most people make in a year." It was the first time in her life she'd actually looked at the real cost of our lifestyle. Patricia and I had always handled everything, shielding her from financial responsibilities to the point where she'd become an adult who didn't know the real price of anything. "How much do you think it costs to maintain this house every month?" I asked, curious to see if she had any grip on reality. "I don't know. Maybe $5,000? She guessed. $22,000, I said, showing her the bills for utilities, maintenance, insurance, and the cleaning staff she'd hired after firing our loyal employees. And that's not including food, gas, or any personal expenses. That's just to keep the lights on. Her face went white. $22,000 a month? And that's just basic stuff? Welcome to the real world, kiddo. It was then that she truly began to understand how deep a hole she'd dug herself into. Without access to the main accounts, and with the fixed expenses she'd created, she was burning through money fast. "What am I going to do?" she asked, and for the first time since she was little, I saw real fear in her eyes. "Well," I said calmly, "you could start by getting a job." She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "A job?" "Dad, I don't know how to do anything. I've hashtag my daughter received $300 million and threw me out." Part 4. It was a fair question, and a painful one. Jennifer was 34 years old, with a college degree she'd never really used and zero work experience. Patricia and I thought we were protecting her by giving her everything she needed. Turns out we'd left her completely helpless in the real world. Over the next week, I watched as Jennifer tried to find work. Her first attempts were pathetic and revealing. She applied for management positions at high-end companies, thinking her last name and education would be enough. "They told me I need experience," she said after her 5th failed interview. "How am I supposed to get experience if nobody will give me a chance?" "Maybe you should start with something more basic," I suggested. "Something where you can learn while you work." Her pride fought against it at first. The idea of working retail or customer service seemed humiliating to her. But when the second overdue electricity bill showed up, and the power company threatened to cut us off, her perspective started changing. Finally, after 3 weeks of searching, she got a part-time job at a clothing boutique downtown. The pay was $1,200 a month, an amount she used to spend in a single afternoon shopping. "It's humiliating, Dad," she told me after her first day. "The manager is 10 years younger than me and treats me like I'm stupid, and the customers, some of them are so rude." "How do you feel about working?" I asked, avoiding comment on the irony that she was now experiencing the same treatment she'd given others for years. "Tired," she admitted. "My feet hurt, my back hurts, and I don't understand how people do this every day for decades." But something interesting started happening after the second week. Jennifer began talking differently about her job and the people she met there. "There's this woman, Lisa, who works the morning shift," she told me one night. "She's got 3 kids and takes care of her sick mother on 2 jobs. She never complains. Never shows up late. Always smiling. I don't get how she does it." "You talk to her much?" "A little. She told me she's been working there 12 years. Started when she got divorced and needed to support her kids on her own." Jennifer paused, like she was processing something big. "Dad, I complained about losing $50 million, but she's probably never seen $50,000 all at once in her life. And she's so much stronger than I am." It was the first time I'd heard Jennifer express real respect for someone who didn't have money or status. Patricia would have been proud of this small step toward actual empathy. The real turning point came a month later, when Jennifer saw something that changed her perspective completely. "Dad, something terrible happened at work today," she told me that night, clearly shaken up. Lisa got a call from the hospital. Her youngest son was in an accident and needs an operation that costs $15,000. Insurance won't cover all of it. "What happened?" "She fell apart completely. I've never seen someone so desperate. She told me she doesn't have that kind of money, that she'd already used all her savings on her mother's medicine. She doesn't know what to do." Jennifer was quiet for several long minutes, and I could see her struggling with something inside. "Dad," she said finally, "I've got jewelry worth more than that operation. I've got dresses in my closet that cost more than Lisa's yearly salary, and she has to choose between saving her son and feeding her family. What are you going to do about it?" I want to help her. I'm gonna sell some of my jewelry. That diamond bracelet I bought last month for $20,000. I don't even like it that much. I can sell it and give Lisa the money." The next day, Jennifer did exactly that. When I saw the tears of gratitude in that hard-working woman's eyes and the look of real satisfaction on my daughter's face, I knew we'd reached a crucial point. But I also knew it was time for the final reveal. That evening, I called Timothy and asked him to come over. When he arrived with his legal files, Jennifer looked confused. "What's going on?" she asked. "Jennifer," I said, taking a deep breath, "there's something you need to know. Something your mother planned from the moment she started worrying about your character." Timothy spread the documents across our kitchen table, and Jennifer's face went pale as she looked at them. "These are the documents from your mother's real will," I explained. "The one she prepared knowing exactly how you'd react when you thought you'd inherited everything." "The real will," Jennifer whispered. "Your mother never left you the $300 million, Jennifer. Everything that's happened these past months has been part of a plan to save you from yourself." I explained everything. The clause that returned the inheritance to me, the additional accounts Patricia had hidden, the reality that I'd never truly lost my position as the primary heir. "I knew what was happening all along," I continued. "I wanted you to learn." Jennifer broke down completely. Not the desperate cry of someone who'd lost money, but the deep sob of someone who finally understood the love she'd received without realizing it. "Mom knew I'd become a monster," she said through her tears. "And you let me treat you like garbage knowing you could stop me anytime. Your mother wrote that the goal was never to punish you, but to save you. And I was willing to go through anything if it meant getting my daughter back." We talked until sunrise. I showed her Patricia's letter about the charitable work her mother had been doing secretly. The real value of our estate was $450 million, but it came with the responsibility to help others. "What happens now?" Jennifer asked. "Now we work together. Your inheritance will be managed by both of us. Every major decision gets made together, and a big portion has to go to charity and fixing the damage you caused." Jennifer didn't hesitate. "I accept. All of it." Today, a year later, we run the Patricia Pierce Foundation together. Jennifer kept working at that boutique for 6 months to stay grounded, and she's still friends with Lisa and the other women she met there. We've restored the donations she canceled, hired back Kevin and the other workers she fired, and started new programs to help working families. You know what Jennifer told me last week? She said she's happier now working 14 hours a day to help others than she ever was when she could buy anything she wanted. Patricia was right about everything. Sometimes to save someone you love, you have to let them hit bottom. You have to let them learn from their mistakes. And sometimes the greatest act of love is having the patience to watch them find their way back home. The $50 million Jennifer lost to those scammers, we never got it back. But what we gained was worth so much more. We got our family back. And we learned that real wealth was never, in the bank accounts anyway. It was in having a purpose bigger than ourselves. Patricia knew that all along. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your children isn't money. It's the chance to fail, learn, and discover their own strength. A man's true legacy isn't measured by what he built with his hands, but by the character he helped shape in the people he loved.